There's a lot of reasons to get into gardening, but today I want to share with you some of the most unconventional reasons. First thing is getting in tune with yourself. In my opinion, when you start to garden, it's something about being alone and being outside with nature and getting your hands dirty and sweating and just the elements of nature and being alone with yourself brings about a lot of self-reflection, and it brings about a lot of mental peace. Like if you're going to therapy for any reason right now, honey, start a garden. I promise you, if you need to go to therapy and you've been avoiding it, spend your money in a gardening. Like just spend your money in gardening. Like I'm not saying don't go to therapy, but I'm saying if you had to choose gardening over therapy, if you had to choose gardening or therapy, I would say gardening. And the reason why is because when you go to therapy, they're basically putting you to self-reflect. That's what you're doing in therapy. So if you start gardening, not only will you self-reflect, but you will also have physical fruits of your labor. If you have children, if you're married, if you have a boyfriend, whatever, you're engaged, I don't know what your status is, I would recommend gardening because it's definitely teamwork. If you have someone that you're gardening with, like I started a garden because it was like, honey, I am getting sick and tired of the price of the groceries. You hear me? But in the process of gardening, I think it has become another thing or another way for my husband and I to bond. And the teamwork of us building a garden bed together, the teamwork of us going to the store and picking our plants and picking our mulch and soil and all this stuff, it has been in a way very therapeutic for us, but it has also helped us, in my opinion. And I noticed that we're starting to we're having a deeper level of teamwork, and it's transitioning from the garden to other areas of our life and even communication. Like that would be number three. I think us communicating, like the us having to stop in the process and the thing, and for me to share what I want in the garden, and for him to share what he wants in the garden, and us come in the middle. And sometimes it's I get a plant with that I want this week because we don't have a budget to get something that both of us want, so we sacrifice and get what I want, and then the next week we sacrifice and get what he wants. Sometimes we're able to get what both of us want, and so that process of communication and giving and taking, I find that it's been very good for us in terms of team building. um, Another reason I would say gardening is the obvious one, learning. I love learning and I love learning new things. When I started gardening, I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was just a matter of, listen, I need some water, I need some sunlight, I'm just gonna put these seeds in the ground and that baby gonna grow. To a certain degree. But then you have to figure out the zone that you're in, and then you got to figure out the right mixture of soil for your zone, and then what might work in for somebody else in the same exact zone as you will not work in your yard. And so the process of just creating something unique and like, oh, this is my unique mixture of soil that came together and worked for my garden, it's a really rewarding feeling. And it's a buildup of gratification instead of instant gratification. It's a buildup of gratification. Like, for example, this morning I came outside and I almost forgot that I put red peas in a pot. I just dropped it in a pot and I forgot about it. Well, this morning I came outside. I'm like, oh, I got a new plant. And I look in the pot and it's a bunch of little red red peas growing. And I'm like, oh, that's so exciting. And so it's a buildup of gratification. Like that's one level of gratification. But then when the peas come out, that's gonna be a different level of gratification. And when I cook it, that's gonna be another level of gratification. So I would say it's definitely a rewarding process. But it's also a learning process because you're constantly learning and trying new things. And if you're a person who you're afraid to try new things, gardening is a good way for you to kind of conquer that fear, because the process of learning and growing encourages you to try and experiment in other places and get creative in other places. So I would say there's a lot of benefits to gardening, but I think when I think about some of the unconventional things that I didn't think about going into gardening, those are some of the things that I think came out of it that has been very rewarding for me. The self-healing, team building, strengthening of communication skills, um, the buildup of gratification and the constant learning process. Those 5 things I think has been very good. And if you're looking for a reason to get into gardening and you don't know where to start, honey, just go to the store and buy a plant and just start. It might grow, it might die, but don't give up because the first plant you bought died. Like, I'm sure you go to the store and you buy things and you eat them and they have seeds in them all the time and you throw the seeds out. Just take the seed and stick it in the ground and see what happens, you know? And just keep growing from there. It's a process. But that's all I got for you today. I hope that this video is helpful and it encouraged you to get outside and to plant something today. That's all I got for you. Peace out.